thank you very much, Freddie, for doing those notices. By the way, church, he does absolutely love doing them. Every week he always asks, can I do the notices? It's his thing. And as I said before, he does want a job doing them. A paid job, by the way. It will have to be a paid job, he says. But I'm sure Freddie will come back again and do them sometime soon. So as many of you are aware, is that throughout this summer we are doing a series in our church called Home Stories, and this is all about real stories of followers of Jesus in lockdown, and we are interviewing / informal conversation to people in our church and to see how the last 4 months has been. And I'm pleased to say that today that we have got Stephen&Marie with us. And just to let you know, that this is actually being filmed a few days earlier because we're about to hear their story, but Stephen works often on a Sunday, and that is where he is right now working. And so this has been filmed just a couple of days earlier, but here is their story. Please do comment though, because we are listening and we'll comment back and we'll talk about it afterwards. So do comment and do say things, because we're going to be talking about it afterwards as well, live. So we have Stephen&Marie with us today. Say hi, guys.
Hi. Hello.
It's great to have you with us. So what did an average day in lockdown look for you guys?
Well, for me, it wasn't much different from usual because I'm a care worker, so I'm special. What's the key worker? Key worker. That's the phrase I used, wasn't it? So I'm a key worker, so I had to go out to work anyway. I suppose one of the biggest differences was lack of traffic, which has actually made life much better, much easier to get around from house to house, visiting people. Other things happened. Workload got increased, I think, because we had quite a few people decide they wanted some time off sick. They self-isolated. I think we had up to 10 people at one stage self-isolating.
Wow. And overall, you guys have been healthy. You've been well.
Yes, yeah. I've been good since. I've not had any problems.
Yes.
Health-wise, none of our clients have any worse than usual anyway. So there's no COVID as far as we come across.
So what in terms of you're a care worker? So what is an average day? Just quickly describe an average day.
Getting up about 5, when quick shower and out on the road, and first client about 6, 6:15. And there's usually about 5 clients, so you've got to do each one. You've got to get washed and dressed, ready for their day. Some are bed bound, so you just leave them in bed, but you still got to get them washed and make sure they're clean and have breakfast. And then you do a round of lunches, and then later on there's tea time calls and bedtime. So it's always, so it's quite full on.
Yes.
Get through at least 20 calls a day.
Because your day gets splitted up into, like, you could do a couple of calls and then come back a couple of hours later, do a couple of calls, come back in the evening. Well, you don't literally work a 9 to 5 job. It's quite an unsociable job, isn't it?
Yes. It's, 6 till 10, 10:30 sometimes.
Wow.
You can sometimes get a break. Well, often get a couple of hours break in the middle, but between 2 and 4 or something. But
yes.
Putting you back to it again.
Yes. And what about you, Marie?
Well, I'm self-employed, so I mainly work from home. My work did dry up somewhat because I'm an inventory clerk. So I go to different properties. My clients are estate agents, and the work did dry up because estate agents did close. But I was still doing some work because of just the backlog that they had. So I still went out and check people out, or check people in inventories and stuff like that. So I was going out during lockdown. Whether it was essential, I'm not sure, but
Has your work is there more work now, if you're finding, or is it
slowly, bit by bit, but
Okay.
not as it was last year, not as busy as it was last year.
Okay, yes.
But I'm still getting out there.
Yes, yeah. I
Um,
suppose people are buying and selling. Apparently, I hear people are buying and selling houses, but maybe people aren't renting as so much.
yeah, I think that's slowed down because of the uncertainty of jobs and things
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
So, but I'd probably have about 1 or 2 jobs a day. Some days no jobs. So I'd be in the house, like straight home, really.
Yeah.
Back in my home, and yeah, basically just preparing a meal for Steve, or doing other things, and yeah.
Great, fantastic.
So, what's the blessings of lockdown been, both of you?
Pretty much every time I had a day off, maybe we go for a walk somewhere, usually Upton Heath. Some occasionally other places, but that's always been lovely. Weather's been pretty great over lockdown, hasn't it? So we've always managed to get out and do our annual hour-long walk or whatever.
Do you find that you've been able to spend more time together since like March-ish time?
Not really. I don't think anything's changed in that respect.
It's because you're a part of it. It's because you're a key worker, right? Because actually for some people their job has got less, but for others, and some people you're at your homes now, and your job has got more in the last 4 months. So people are saying, I've had more time to do this, more time to do this. But like yourself, Stephen, is that actually you have had? It's been very similar, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we've done a few other things. We've kept in touch with family more. Before this happened, I saw my mum every 2 or 3 weeks, but hardly ever seen my sisters. But now we've been Zoom meetings every week with sisters, and
you're not zoomed out yet.
No, we're keeping it going, I think.
Yeah, it's good.
So it's pretty good. Yeah.
That is good.
What about you, Marie?
I think the blessing's been, my family are all in London, my sons and my dad and sisters. So we've been Zooming. We've had Zoom quizzes. We've had Zoom Keep Fit, and a Zoom party even.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So even though they're far, I've probably seen them more than I would normally.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a real blessing.
Zoom Keep Fit. That has got to be good, hasn't it? I would say do it now, but don't worry about it. That is good. That is
Are you running
good.
the Keep Fit or something?
My nephew is quite fit, so all our mics would be off, and he would be demonstrating what to do, and he'd be driving us hard. Mostly my sisters, who are all over a certain age, and a few nephews. But yeah, he was quite good at it. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Is that one going to be kept? Is that one going to be kept?
Oh, he's gone back to work now, so it's stopped.
Okay. It's stopped. Fantastic. So what has been the hard points of lockdown? What has been hard over the last 4 and a bit months for you guys?
I suppose being cut off from immediate family and not being able to go and see my mum or friends. There's a small group of us meet up down at his beach hut on the Friday nights. That's just started, but obviously it's not happened for a long time. So yeah, keeping in touch with friends closer friends is a bit difficult. What else has been difficult?
I don't know really. For me, it's I've loved it. Because the sun's been shining. It's just been lovely most of the time. I think the hardest thing was preparing a meal every day for the last, for 3 months straight, and not being able to, I can't be bothered to cook and go and have a pub lunch or something like that.
Go and get a takeaway or
Yeah,
something like that.
that was just like.
Every day,
Yeah.
yes.
Cooking every day probably was the hardest.
Yes.
Making sure Steve has a meal when he gets in from work because he's got to be straight out again. So yeah, probably that.
Have you guys ever worried about, like, in many ways getting ill? Because obviously you're a key worker, and actually for some of us, like, we haven't been into work as such, and you know that you know, for some key, have you felt worried about that at all? Or for you, Marie, as well, have you felt worried that he might bring anything home?
I think you'd be more worried than I have.
I'm saying, Steve, wash your hands. Get in the bathroom. Wash your hands before you come and touch me. Yeah.
I'll be the same way. Wash your hands. Do that.
So, no, I'm not worried. We have PPE. Hands washing regularly, and now we've got masks. Masks did take quite a long time to come through because of a big shortage to start with, but we've got masks now.
Well, for me, basically, with my job, I go to an empty property most of the time, or we would, if I did meet a tenant, then at a safe distance apart, leave the keys on the windowsill or something like that, and just talk at a great distance. But otherwise, I'm in the property on my own, so I wasn't too, worried or anything like that, but took normal precautions.
Yeah.
The first day I wore a mask, I couldn't breathe, and I thought, oh my gosh, I've got COVID. But it turned out it was just a mask. Yeah.
Right, so obviously you guys know we've been going through a couple of series with church, which is Unhurried Life and Life of a Disciple. So really just wanted to know, like, what's God been speaking to you during this time and highlighting to you, like, through those series?
I think through this time, things are getting difficult. COVID is just the beginning, I think, of the end times. Maybe we don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but I think it's a wake-up call for the church and us, just to get back into God's Word. Gives us time to do that, or most people. And just links. I was speaking to a lot of churches about he's on his way back, preparing us. And through our quiet times and stuff, we've been talking about it quite a lot, haven't we?
Yeah, I think God's been speaking to me for a while to always spend time with Him, making sure that I do set time aside for just him and myself. And to be honest, while being married, it's been a bit different, bit difficult. So I'm still trying to work my way to before, when I was single, it was easier, I'd say. But it should still be easy because Steve's at work a lot of the time. So yeah, he's been like, I must make sure I spend time with him and his word, and just always keep my eyes on him as well, not lose sight of him, no matter what is going on. Just like Steve, I've felt for a long time that God's saying that he is coming back, and to be prepared and make sure we're ready. Make sure we're prepared for his coming. Like the wise virgins. And just always be prepared.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's been something that in terms of like having that time of silence and solitude, in terms of spending time with God, that's what it's meant to be, actually, time where you can just be with God. And like you're saying, there's different seasons in life, seasons when you're single, when you're married, different seasons when you've got kids, when you've got grandkids, seasons when you're working hard, seasons when you get time to rest, and maybe you haven't got a job at the moment. There's different seasons, what I'm getting at. But those bricks, or those pillars, we say, in our life should be, like you're saying, that actually our relationship with God is a pillar that doesn't change from season to season. And that's, like, I know that's been something that a few people in the church have really been encouraged and challenged upon, is actually spending quality time with God daily, whether that is going for a walk and being in his creation, or praying for a period of time, or reading the Bible, or there's different ways we spend time with God. But you might be at your homes now, and in the same way as like Marie just said, is actually like keeping that time with God, she's felt it's really important and challenged to keep going. And also I think of your point about the end times, and the Bible clearly states that there will be signs of the end times. No one knows what day or time it's going to be, the specific, but there definitely is signs, isn't there? And there's signs that we understand from, you get pointers from Scripture about what is happening at end times. Is there anything else that God has been speaking to you about over the last 4.5 months? It could be about the coronavirus, it could be about your life, it could be anything, but anything else that God's been speaking to you guys about?
To trust him, to trust everything that he does in my life, whether it is good or bad, or unexpected, but to always know that he is there and he's in control, and to make sure that I obey him. And obeying him to me is making sure that you do spend time, because otherwise you're not going to know what he wants you to do or not want you to do. So how can you obey him if you're not spending that time? Obviously there's things that you obey in the Bible, but personally in your everyday life, just to surrender to him, surrender your life continually. You've got to do that continually, I think, as well, because sometimes you can just drift and waver and things like that. And to trust and obey, surrender, trust and obey has just been a big thing, really.
And I think like with this thing, isn't it, because you're saying like, I know that one of the biggest things in our relationship with God and our life is trusting God. It's what is massive, isn't it? Trusting God. And the whole thing of surrendering seems like the opposite to trusting. It's a weird one, isn't it? It's actually, the more we surrender our lives, the more trust grows into us. And even the more we surrender, the more freedom we get in God, I believe, because there's freedom in his Spirit. And it seems like a paradox. It seems the opposite, that they don't go together, surrendering and trusting. Why would I surrender my life and then I'm trusting someone? It doesn't make sense. But it's a remarkable thing. And I know there's many people at the Vine that are going through things in their life at the moment, whether it's sickness, family situations, financial situations, and you are trying your best to trust God. And the whole thing of trusting is it's like what Maria said, it's the surrendering. It's the surrendering to his plans, surrendering to his purposes, and surrendering to his will. What about you, Stephen? I think God has been speaking to you about over the last 4 months.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, I just woke. Can't remember if it was before I went to bed or when I woke up. Just had this prompting from God to visit a guy. I don't know if you go over Poole Bridge very often, but the new lifting bridge has a couple of lay-bys.
What, the Twin Sails?
Twin Sails.
Yeah.
And there's a guy camping in his car on one of the lay-bys. So God sort of prompted me to go and speak to him, see what asked me to bless him. So I went down to see him, and what can you do? He turns out he's a Russian. He's mute, so he just writes everything down. He's good. He's good advisor. He's good. English is fine.
Yes.
What's else about him? Seems quite a nice chap. He's in England looking for his children.
Wow.
Don't know what's exactly happened there, but we'll have to investigate further. And he's offered to do some gardening for us and just sort of try and build a friendship.
Wow. Well, so just to get it right, so you had a dream and you felt God say, go and speak to this guy. You get there, you meet this Russian guy who cannot speak, but he's quite warm towards you.
Yeah.
And that is amazing. It's amazing because number one, God gave you a dream. Number two, because we all want more dreams, right? Number two is that's what, by the way, Becky says that she wants more. She said to her, I'm always saying to her, I wish I had more dreams from God. Not like dreams of like church.
They're just random my dreams.
Yeah, they're just random dreams by what happened in the day. But we're talking like God dreams.
Yeah.
We all want more of those and visions and stuff. But so you get this dream, and you go and meet this gentleman. And now you're starting to build a relationship. This is an amazing testimony. And now you've got, in ways, you've got like, you're going to start building a relationship and see where God leads you over the next months and even years to what will happen, which is amazing. If you could give, what took you in terms of the courage to go and speak to him? I know you couldn't physically speak to him, but I mean, like, in terms of to make that initial step.
It was a bit of a. I said I'll do it on the way home from work, so I hadn't eaten all day, so so I was getting hungry. So there was a bit of conflict of interest there between my stomach and doing what God said. So I pulled the car up and on the other side of the road, walked over and basically just introduced myself and okay, he had to grab a pen and paper. Told me he's mute. He's got notice on his car window saying he can't speak or something, and he wants some help from the embassy and things like that. So I don't know if he's got any of that help.
Yeah. Wow.
We did help him out.
We helped him
a
out.
few things.
Yeah, because found out his birthday and a couple of days later, so we brought him a tarpaulin, which he wanted, and the roll of thread so he can stitch up his trousers.
Wow. I've just been reading today, actually. I was reading about hospitality and how that in the first centuries, one of the key things that the Christianity spread was through giving shelter and food. And this whole thing, it might be someone living in your house, but the whole thing of actually helping people with their basic needs in life. And actually it was a testimony, actually, right? So the Christianity spread that people were sharing meals with one another, they're offering shelter, and in many ways this is exactly what you guys have been doing, or doing, like you're trying to help him just to meet his basic needs in life, and you don't know where that will lead.
No.
You don't know if you, in 6 months' time, you won't ever see him again, but you played your part. And you did what God had told you to do through the dream, which is fantastic, which is absolutely fantastic. Is there anything else that you would like to share?
Anything else? I think lockdown's been pretty normal for us, really.
We've been doing a lot of puzzles and baking, and it's been nice. Just wanting to spend more time with God as well, in balancing that has been probably a bit lazy, if I'm honest. To take that time out and spend time. But we do have Bible studies sometimes, and we pray together quite a bit, and devotionals, and just keeping that connection as well. That's been encouraging as well.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming and sharing this morning. Well, actually, officially it is this afternoon. Actually, it's the Thursday afternoon. We would like to, but this is like, these guys would have come on a Sunday if they were able to, but because, like I've said earlier, Stephen's a key worker. If you missed the beginning, Stephen's a key worker, and he's working on Sunday and works lots of Sundays, and so they've taken time out of their day to come and be with us. And I hope that you were blessed this morning.